Hello everyone, welcome back to this video series on clinical SAS SDTM programming. In this video, we will see the creation of SDTM EC dataset, where EC stands for exposure as collected. So let us see the concept of EC first, and then we will see the lesson description, specification and program. And then here we have the background for EC dataset. So in clinical trials, we administer study treatments to the subjects over time as per the study requirement. So we need to report the data as collected for these study drug administrations. SDTM standard has a standard data structure for reporting such data, so which is exposure as collected, which is abbreviated as EC. And then EC domain falls under interventions class of the SDTM domains. In some studies, we collect both planned doses to be given and actual dose given. So we report both planned and actual doses in EC domain. So we use the variable EC mood to distinguish between planned and actual dose records. So on the record where planned dose is reported, we populate the variable EC mood as scheduled. On the record where actual dose is reported, we populate EC mood as performed. And EC domain is expected to have a record structure of one record per protocol specified study treatment, collected dosing interval per subject per mood. And any treatments other than study treatments must be reported in CM domain. Study treatments include, so it can be your investigational drug, the drug that which you are trying to test, and the control type, which could be an existing marketed product or a placebo control. And any other medication specified in the protocol like co-therapies have to be reported in EC domain. So what type of information do we specifically collect or present in EC domain is the name of the treatment, the information whether treatment is administered or not. So yes and no. If it is not administered, reason why it is not administered. And then we present the start date or time of the treatment, and similarly we present the end date of the treatment, and if we have time also collected, we present it. And then we present the dose and dosing unit of the treatment. And then we also present the frequency of administration, like how frequently it is taken, whether it is taken once daily or twice daily or once in a month or once in every 2 weeks. So that kind of information would be reported. And then the route of administration. So whether it is taken orally, which means swallowed by mouth, or whether it is injected into your veins, or whether it is injected into your muscles, etc. And then the dosage form, whether the drug is taken in the form of a tablet, capsule, injection, etc. And then if it is a kind of injectable, so we also collect the location and laterality of the administration. So for example, if it is on the hand or thigh, if it is having a laterality, whether it is on the left side or right side, so that information will also be collected or reported. So and then we also collect the information, was the dose adjusted for any reason? So if adjusted, what is the reason for adjustment? Say for example, if 100 ml of something has to be given, and if it is stopped in between and only 50 ml has been administered. So we ask for that kind of question, was the dose adjusted for any reason? And if it is adjusted, then we collect the reason for adjustment. And then we also present the lot number of the treatment package. So now let us move to the lesson description. So what do we see in this lesson? We will see how to create EC domain for an example CRF where the volume of injection administered is collected. So we will see how to fetch the treatment content based on kit identification number along with creation of other standard SDTM variables. So we'll now see the specification. So there are some general notes. So we have variable name, variable label, and derivation logic provided for each of the variables. And then there is some general notes. So it is saying exposure to study drug is collected in IP admin dataset in this example. So volume of injection administered is captured in the raw data. So we present this information in exposure as collected dataset. And then we have the derivation logic given for each of the variables. So we have study ID variable which says it is equal to the value from IP admin study variable, which means we'll have to use the variable study from IP admin raw dataset to populate a study ID in SDTM EC domain. And then for domain variable, we are being asked to explicitly assign the abbreviation EC in domain. And then for useID, so we are being asked to derive it by concatenating the value of study in IP admin dataset and the value present in PT variable on IP admin dataset with a hyphen in between. And then we have EC seek variable which says, so sort the records based on useID, ECTRT, ECSTDTC, and then set to 1 on the first record of the subject and increment by 1 on the subsequent records within the subject. And then we have ECTRT which says derive by fetching the raw.box.content by joining IP admin and box dataset based on IP admin box ID and kit ID. If the content is PBO, then assign as placebo, else if content is active, then assign as active. So this involves merging two different datasets. One is our base, our IP admin dataset, and we have a second dataset called box. So the variable present in the variable named content in the box has to be used to derive ECTRT, and we have been provided here with the linking of how these two datasets can be linked. So here it says we'll have to use the kit ID variable from box dataset as a linking variable for IP box ID in IP admin dataset, which means we need to merge these two datasets based on the variable specified and then fetch the variable content from box and then assign our ECTRT. And then we have EC dose variable which says equals to the value from IP admin IP QTY underscore raw, which is quantity administered in the raw format, and convert it to numeric value. And then we have EC dose unit. And then we have EC dose unit which says equals to the value from IP admin IP QTYU. The quantity unit variable has to be used to populate dose unit. And then we have variable called EC dosage form. So we are being asked to manually assign it as injection. So this could be based on the information present in the study protocol. So though it may not be explicitly collected on the CRF, but as per the study design, we know if it is an injection or not. So here in this case, so as discussed earlier, so we are dealing with the total amount of injection volume administered. So let's assume that this is taken in the form of dosage form of injection. So we are being asked to assign the value as injection. And then dosage frequency, again as per the protocol requirement, it is every week administration. So we are being asked to assign the value as every week. And then we have EC route. So here we are being asked to assign as intravenous. Again, this information is fetched from the information present in protocol. So it is not explicitly collected on the CRF, but we are relying on the information present in protocol and as per study design and requirement. So we are populating it here. And then we have EC lot variable, which is lot number. So it says derive by fetching lot num from lot dataset by joining IP admin and raw.lot datasets based on IP admin box ID and kit ID. So here our base dataset is IP admin. So we have a second dataset called lot. So in which we have the lot number available in a variable called lot num. So but we need to join these two datasets based on the information provided here, IP box ID of IP admin versus kit ID of lot dataset. And when there is a match present in these two datasets, you fetch this lot number and populate your EC lot variable. And then we have this variable called ECPSTRG, which stands for pharmaceutical strength. So it says equals to the value from IP admin IP CONC. So we have a variable called IP concentration. So we are being asked to populate our pharmaceutical strength variable using that value. And then we have ECPST RGU. so which stands for pharmaceutical strength units. So what is the amount unit of the pharmaceutical strength that is being administered? So we are giving an injection. So the concentration of the drug present in that injection is presented in this PST-RG variable, and we are reporting the unit in this variable called PST-RGU, pharmaceutical strength units. And then we have our EC variable, which is reason for dose adjustment. So we are being asked to populate it with the value from IP ADJ variable of IP admin dataset after converting it into uppercase. And then we have epoch variable. So we are being manually asked to assign the text of treatment here. And then we have EC SDTC. So it says derive the datetime value in ISO 8601 format by obtaining the information from IP STDT underscore raw of IP admin dataset and IP SDTM underscore raw from IP admin dataset. So we have two variables, separate variables for date and time of administration. So we will be using those two variables to create our ECSTDTC. And then we have ECENDTC. It says equals to the value from ECSTDTC. So as this is an injection, so which may not take like 20-30 seconds for administration. So we are only collecting the start date of injection and we are presenting the same information in the end date as well. So, but when the duration or the length of administration time increases, so we will have that end date also collected in separate variable. But in the case of tablets or injections, so where the administration could happen quickly, so we may not have the end date time collected explicitly. So we will be presenting the same information in the end date variable as well. And then we have ECSTDY variable, which is the study day variable for ECSTDTC, and then ECENDY, which is study day variable for ECENDTC. So we know that if the date of interest is on or after reference start date, we will take the difference of those two dates and then add 1 to that difference. Otherwise, we just take the difference of the date of interest and reference start date. So here in this case, it is ECSTDTC, and in the case of ECENDY, the date of interest for us is ECENDTC. So let us now move to the programming aspect of this. So here on the left hand side, I have my SAS program, and on the right hand side, I have my input dataset and all the intermediate datasets that are getting created from this code, and the final dataset that will be used to that will be our EC domain. So let us take a quick look at our input dataset, the base input dataset, which is IP admin 01 dataset. So we have study ID, patient number, folder, IP concentration, the start date and the start time, quantity administered, unit of the quantity administered, reason for adjustment, and the box ID. It is kind of your package content number. So we'll be using this information to fetch what content was present in this box. And then other dataset that we'll be using as input was box dataset. We were asked to fetch the variable content from this dataset by joining IP admin dataset with this box ID and kit ID present here to fetch the content to populate ECTRT. And then we were asked to use the lot dataset to fetch the lot number associated with each kit ID. So the kit ID is nothing but the box ID collected on IP admin dataset. So these are the core input dataset that we will be using to create our EC domain. And then we have also demographics dataset, which we will be using to fetch our reference start date for the subject when creating study day variables. So now let us come to the programming. So here I have input dataset as IP admin DM SV SC. So I don't think we are using SV or SC in this anywhere in the program, but we have just kept it here. But the main dataset would be IP admin, box, lot, and our demographics dataset. So I'm just making a copy of whatever was available from the input data and giving them a suitable names. So, and in the next step, I am creating my variables which are directly based on source variables. So I am creating a dataset named EC01 by using my core dataset IPadmin01. So IPadmin01 is nothing but a copy of IPadmin because I created it that way here. So IPadmin01 is being used to create EC01, and in the first step we are creating simple variables which are directly based on the information present in IPadmin dataset. So here, as per the specification for study ID, we were asked to use the value from study variable in IP admin, so we are assigning it. And for domain, it was supposed to be a manual assignment, so we are assigning the EC domain abbreviation, so here to the domain variable. And for usage ID, we were asked to concatenate the values present in study ID and PT with a hyphen in between. So we are achieving that using catex function here. And then for EC dose variable, so we were asked to use the value from IP quantity raw. Here if we see, this is present as a character variable, so we were asked to convert it into numeric and present it in EC dose. So we are converting the IP quantity raw to numeric format using best.in format using input function. And then on the rows where EC dose is not equal to missing, so we are assigning the value from IP quantity units to the variable EC dose unit. So as per the SDTM standard, so we will have to populate units only when dose is present. So we are checking if dose is not is equal to missing. So and then populating EC dose U only on those cases. And then we had the information directly being assigned based on the information present in protocol. So one such information was dosage form. So EC DOS FRM, we were asked to assign it as injection, so we are doing that here. And then for EC dose freak, so we were asked to assign the text every week, so we are assigning it here. And then we have EC route, so this is being administered intravenously, so we are populating it as intravenous in route variable. And then for pharmaceutical strength, so we were asked to use the value present in IPCONC variable. So here it is present as character variable. So we are converting it into numeric format and storing it in pharmaceutical strength variable. And similar to EC dose unit, so we also have pharmaceutical strength unit. So we are populating pharmaceutical strength unit as microgram per ml. So when pharmaceutical strength is not is equal to missing. So in most of the cases, when we have this parallel variables of dose and dose units, so we will be populating the unit variables only when there is associated result value present. So here the result is pharmaceutical strength. If it is not null, so only in those cases we are assigning it as microgram per ml. And then for EC ADJ, so we were asked to populate it from IP ADJ. So we are doing that here. And then for epoch variable, as this corresponds to treatment, so we were simply asked to assign the treatment text to epoch variable, so we are assigning it here. And then we had the derivation for EC STDTC and EC ENDTC. So for which we had to use IP STDT raw and IP SDTM raw. So here we have IP STDT raw in the format of 05 JAN 2010, which is in the SAS format we call it as date11 format. So we are converting the character date value in IPSTDT raw, which is present in date11 in format, using date11 in format using input function. And then that resulting numeric value is converted back into character format using put function and YYMMDD 10 dot format. So we will have the date in ISO 8601 notation in this temporary variable called IPSTDTC. And then we are checking if time is not null. If that is the case, so we are reading this time value again. So if you see here, there are time values are 835. So in those cases, what we need to do is we need to add a leading 0 if we do not have it. So here time in ISO 8601 notation has to be presented as 2-digit 2-character wide hours and separated by colon, 2-character wide minutes separated by colon, and if we have seconds collected, we will present the 2-character wide string. So here we only have the hours and minutes collected, but in hours, so wherever it is in the AM time, so that leading 0 is missing. So what we need to do is to convert this into the 2-character wide hours as well. So here what we are doing here is, so this format is called time5. The date value, the time values which we have, which we are seeing here is in the format of time5 in SAS. So we are converting the IP SDTM raw variables using time5 in format. So using input function. So this would convert the time to numeric values, and then we are further converting it into TOD6 format. The TOD6 format will add the leading zero when the time to the hours when it is in the AM time. So which is from 1 to uh, 1 to 9. So if we have 135, so we TOD6 dot would actually convert it as 01 colon 35. So we are converting the time as per the expectation of ISO 8601 notation into this temporary variable called IP SDTM. And then the date component in ISO 8601 notation is present in IP SDTC, and time is present in IP SDTM. So in the next step, we are concatenating the date and time with a delimiter T in between them. So let us take it, and finally we are assigning EC STDTC to EC ENDTC. So let us take a look at our IP EC01 dataset to see the newly added variables. So let's go to EC01. So we had information till IP box ID in IP admin. So all of these variables which are present towards the right of IP box ID are the newly created variables. So study ID, use subj ID is being created, domain we have assigned as EC, and then EC dose we have converted the IP quantity to numeric value, and then we have EC dose unit assigned, EC dosage form is being manually assigned, EC dosage frequency and EC route is being assigned, and then we have pharmaceutical strength and pharmaceutical strength units are being assigned, and then EC OD ADJ reason for adjustment, and we have epoch variable created, and then the temporary variable IPSTDTC to convert the IPSTDT raw value to ISO 8001 notation, and then we have converted the time values also to ISO 8601 notation. So here if we see, the time was appearing as 8:35 in IPSTTM raw, but after conversion, so we have that leading zero added as per the expectation, and then we have concatenated this IPSTDT-C and IPSTTM with a T in between here. So we have the date, full date time available for ECDTC in ISO 8601 notation, and then for ECENDTC we simply assign the value from ECSTDTC to ECENDTC. So we have this value created. So this completed some variables which are directly based on the information present in IP admin 01. So next we will be populating our ECTRT variable. So as per the specification, we were asked to use the information present in IP admin box ID variable, and then to fetch the content variable by linking IP admin and this box dataset based on the values present in kit ID here. So how we are doing here? So we are using an SQL merge here to fetch that. So we are creating a table as EC02 by fetching all the variables from A dataset. So we are indicating our EC01 as A, and then we are creating this variable called case. So we are creating this variable called ECTRT using case when logic here. So when we are saying that the B dot content, so we are identifying box01 with the alias as B. So when the content variable present in box01 dataset has a value of PBO, so we are assigning the text placebo to ECTRT variable. And when the content present in content value present in box01 dataset is active, so then we are assigning the text active to our ECTRT variable. So we are linking these two datasets based on the values of IP box ID from our EC01 dataset, and then b.kitid is nothing but kit ID variable from box01. So IP admin box ID is linked to kit ID, and then on the matching record, so we are fetching the content variable and modifying that to our ECTRT using case when logic here within the ProcSQL step. So let us take a look at our EC02 dataset and see how our ECTRT is appearing. So here on the first record we have it as coming as active, and on the second record it is placebo. So let us try to cross check how that is actually happening. So on the first record, let us see the IP box ID. So here if we see, the IP box ID is ending with a number of 4371. So let us go to our box and then see what is the associated content in the kit ID which is ending with 4371. I don't think there is any other kit ID which is ending with 4371. So here we joined IP admin based on the values present in IP box ID. So on this, the kit number is 4371. So here we fetch the matching value when there is a match between kit ID and box ID. From this content variable, we have assigned or created our ECTRT. So we have fetched the content first by joining and then transforming this value to the requirement. So when it is PBO, it is supposed to be placebo, and when it is active, so we have created it as active. So there should be some records, so where instead of seeing it as PBO, we should see it as placebo, because we have converted the value of PBO to placebo here when creating ECTRT. And then we are creating our EC lot variable similar to the box ID logic. So here we had to use a different logic to fetch lot number from lot dataset. So here we again have to use IP box ID from this dataset and then kit ID of lot dataset, join these two datasets based on these linking variables and fetch this lot number as ECTRT. So here I am again using a SQL join. So I am fetching all the variables from EC02 and then I am fetching the B dot lot number. B is nothing but my lot01 dataset, and I am fetching the lot number variable as with a new name, and I'm naming that variable as EC lot because we had to create EC lot using this information. So and then we are joining these two datasets based on the condition specified, which is IP box ID of EC02 versus kit ID of lot01. So let us take a look at our EC03 dataset and see how whether we have EC lot pulled in. So we have the lot number pulled in. And then we have creation of study day variables. So in order to create study day variables, we need to have our RFSTDTC pulled into our main SDTM dataset. So here in this case, our process SDTM so far is EC03, and we have our demographics dataset in the form of DM01. So we are joining these two datasets based on uSubjID variables. So when joining from the DM01 dataset, we are only keeping the variables uSubjID and RFSTDTC. So we have many other variables coming from DM, so but we don't need any of them for processing. So as we need only RFSTDTC and the linking variable uSubjID, we are keeping only those two variables in this. And then in order to convert, create study day, so we have to convert all the dates in ISO 8601 notation which are in character format to numeric format. So we are creating numeric variants of dates for our RFSTDTC, ECSTDTC and ECENDTC using input function and then YYMMDD 10.in format. And then we are creating our study day variables by checking. So say for example here for ECSTDY, we are checking if both ECSTDT and RFSTDT has a non-missing value using nmiss function. And then if both of them have a value, the nmiss function would return 0. So we are checking if the returned value is 0. If that is the case, so we are creating ECSTDY as ECSTDT minus RFSTDT plus ECSTDT greater than or is equal to RFSTDT. So when this condition is true, the value returned would be 1, otherwise it would be written as 0. So it would be like ECSTDT minus RFSTDT plus 1 or ECSTDT minus RFSTDT plus 0, depending on the condition where this condition is satisfied or not. If it is satisfied, it would return 1, and if it is not, it would return 0. And then we are creating ECENDY in the similar fashion. So let us take a quick look at our EC01. So this should now have RFSTDTC and the numeric variants of RFSTDTC, ECSTDTC and ECENDTC, which are RFSTDT, ECSTDT and ECENDT. And along with that, we also have our study day variables created. And then in the next step, we are creating our EC sequence variable. As per the specification, so we were asked to sort the records based on U sub ID, EC TRT, and EC STDTC. And after sorting the records with the specified variables, so we were asked to set the value of 1 on the first record of each subject ID. So we are making use of this first out concept within the data step of SAS programming to check whether the record is corresponding to the first record of that subject. So if it is the case, so as per the requirement, so we were asked to assign the value of 1. Otherwise, we were asked to increment it further by 1 within the subject. So we are doing that here using this logic. And then finally, we are keeping only the required variables, making assigning variable labels here using attribute statement, and then keeping only the required variables as per the specification. Here, if we see here, there are many variables which are getting carried forward from the intermediate dataset which we were using for processing. But in the final dataset, we only need to keep only those dataset. So we are creating a final dataset with only those variables. So let's go and see our EC01, EC06, which only has the required variables. So we have study ID, domain, U sub ID, EC sequence, EC TRT, EC dose, EC dose unit, dosage form, dosage frequency, route of administration, lot number, pharmaceutical strength and associated units, reason for dose adjustment, epoch, start date, end date, and associated study days for start and end dates. So this is how you can create your EC domain. Thank you for watching and keep learning.